Loki Season 2 was confirmed at the end of the first season, and we've known for a bit that the show would start filming soon. According to Production Weekly, the show started filming on June 6th. But today we have our first official photos from the set, which reveals a time period and a location, as well as 3 characters that will possibly appear in the show. From the photos, it's being said that the time period is the 1970s, but I think it might actually be the 80s, and I'll explain why in a second. As you can see, there are 3 movie posters. The first is for a movie called The Zaniac. The second is for a movie starring Kingo, the Eternal who's also a Bollywood star, and the last one is Phone Ranger. Now if you look at the posters, they say London theaters, meaning that at least this portion of the show will take place in the United Kingdom. Now the only reason why I think it might actually take place in the 80s and not the 70s is because 2 of the characters we can see, the Zaniac and Phone Ranger, were introduced in Thor number 319, which came out in 1982, and Marvel Age Annual number 1, which came out in 1985 respectively. I could definitely be wrong, and maybe there's something super obvious that I missed, like the type of cars that are in the background, but just going off when the characters were first introduced, it would make more sense if it was set in the 80s instead. Now these characters aren't really interesting and are more of a gag, but it'll be interesting to see if they actually appear in the show and what that'll mean, or if they're just some bad movies. Anyways, I doubt anyone knows who these characters are, so if you're interested, I'll explain them, because we don't really have any more details about the show. A time period and location doesn't really tell us anything at all, as we already know that Loki will undoubtedly travel to many different periods and locations on his quest to find Sylvie and a way home. But anyways, in the late 19th century, the Dark Dimension sorcerer King Dormammu indulged his own necromantic needs and pleasures by sending a magical creature to possess the kyphotic hunchback Tom Malvern, who resented normal people. The creature stimulated Malvern's bloodlust, and he located a vampire coven who offered to vampirize him if he would drink human blood before the new year. Death was the penalty for failure. Granted normal form by the creature while carrying out his assaults, Malvern slaughtered at least 5 prostitutes in Whitechapel, London, from August to December 1888, each killing more gruesome than the last. Malvern became legendary and known as Jack the Ripper. The entity that would later become known as Zaniac possessed various hosts, overwhelming them with a bloodlust to kill beautiful women, calling them pretty pretties. When killed, the entity would pass from one host to another through vermin which infected its body. In recent years, actor Brad Wolfe accepted the role of the fictional Zaniac in a slasher movie. Zaniac's script detailed the background of severe abuse and neglect leading to misogyny, all of which Wolfe identified with, the bloody murders of several women, and time in an insane asylum. The movie was being filmed at the site of the Manhattan Project, where the atom was first split in Chicago. Wolfe, dressed as Zaniac in front of the cameras, chased a woman with a knife and unwittingly ran into the bleachers, where a massive explosion released radiation and mutated Wolfe into Zaniac. Super strong and able to create energy knives, the Zaniac craved blood. Maddened and driven by the need to follow the movie's storyline, Zaniac tried to kill the nearest girl, Shauna Lind, a friend of Don Blake, the mortal guise of Thor. Thor stopped the murder and later stopped Zaniac from slaughtering a house full of girls, which was the next scene in the script. Confused by Thor's long hair, which seemed to mark him as a pretty, deserving of Zaniac's knives of love, and Thor's masculine strength, which deserved only the brute strength of hate, the Zaniac ultimately unleashed a series of radioactive knives at Thor, which his hammer reflected back into the Zaniac, subduing him. Zaniac was then taken away to an asylum and his costume was removed. The next character, Phone Ranger, actually isn't a villain, but rather a really bad hero. A.G. Bell was a telephone repairman who was sent to fix a phone that, unknown to anyone, was actually acting as a prison for a small race of aliens known as the Celtas. The Celtas had left the day before, accidentally freed when the phone was broken, but Bell found the Celtas' technology in the device and replicated it in his home. Then Bell found it could be used to tap into any communications technology, so he decided to use it to fight crime as a superhero known as Phone Ranger. However, in one of his first adventures, he was a victim of the Scourge of the Underworld. Following the enactment of the Superhuman Registration Act, and during the subsequent Superhuman Civil War, Phone Ranger was arrested by Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the NYPD, alongside Electron, Lightbright, and Wildstreak. So yeah, these characters aren't really very interesting or any super major news for the MCU, but it's still interesting that they're being shown in Loki, and it could mean that we might actually see them in the show. However, let me know what you guys think about all this. What do you think of these posters? What do you think of the time period and location? And how excited are you for Loki Season 2? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll never miss another video. Thanks for watching, and remember to wash your hands and stay safe.